Hey everyone, this is George Williams, and we're here tonight to do the story video series, I guess you could say. Series of videos that's going to cover the story of the game and talk about the universe and everything that goes up until the game mechanics, basically. So it's going to be fairly lengthy. It's somewhere like, let me see. So it starts on page 2 and ends on page 17. So, lot to go over. But within this series of videos, it'll be broken down into different pieces. So talk about the story and the universe right now. Then the next subset of series will be for the race histories that I have, or that I'm going to have in those videos. I won't have all of them. I'll have a couple. And the third series of videos will be the deep level drill down on the galactic government, and as far as how it's structured and what all different tasks the agencies and whatnot have. After that, go into the game mechanics, which will be broken down individually into sections, so there won't be huge long arcs most of the time. Or I may break them down by related sections. Well, the problem with that is that really all this stuff can be interrelated anyway, so I can't do that. So now I just break them down to their individual sections and try to make them take enough time that it's, worth making a video about them. But, so let's talk about the story for the game. I'm still making the story, but this is just going to be the, I guess you could say, the synopsis to the story that happens before the game starts. So it's kind of like the synopsis to the prologue of the game's story. So the year is, and there actually is a whole backstory too. You can look up on the website and the wiki forum. So the year is astral year, which I'll explain later on the astral date system. That's astral year 6204. Following a devastating 7-year war with the Sluikans, humanity is forever scarred when a previously unknown hostile alien race calling themselves the Juice Lords attack the Earth Alliance. Earth is destroyed, along with the Mars colony and over 41,000 other planets. The death toll is astronomical, at over 453 trillion lives lost, and most of the remaining planets have fallen under the control of these invaders. However, some have managed to survive the Holocaust and are preparing to launch a counterattack. You, the player, come from such a planet called Alcott, and essentially where the character the player is playing, that you're playing in the game, that's where that character originates from. The Earth Alliance Outer Space Military Commander, Aosmic, has conscripted you into service and placed you through heavy training, after which you are given a field commission as a private and a frigate with which to carry out 2 directives that they give to you. So this bit here about the training, that's essentially going to be the tutorial. And is it going to be a tutorial? I'm going to try and get... No, I'm not going to try and get... I will get every, potential system and everything in there. It's going to be... I don't know. I don't even want to speculate how long it's probably going to take. It might take, upwards of an hour or something. I don't know. It's just going to be that in-depth because this game is not going to be, This game is going to kill casual players, basically. They're just going to, run away screaming for the hills from this game because it's going to be old school 4X style kind of thing where you have systems that are really deep and complicated and they take time to understand and master. So what I'm going to try and do is go through and help players understand the systems a little bit easier, a little bit faster. there's still going to be a hell of a learning curve to the game, but hopefully this takes a little bit of an edge off of that learning curve. What's mostly going to take the most time is going to be the colonization, probably, because that system is just... I get a headache just thinking about all the stuff that has to be done for that. It's just so complicated and complex. And really, I think that's probably the more complicated system that the player interacts with. I think the most complicated system in the game is going to be the economic system, and that's going to be something that there's some front-end exposure to, but it's mostly going to be back-end. And that is likely going to be the most complicated system in the game, because I want to make it so it's an actual, real kind of economy with a stock market that you can invest into, like commodities or companies or whatnot, and you'll make money or lose money based on all the different events that are happening for different things. If a pirate group raids something somewhere, that constrains supplies, the stock for whatever companies or corporations were relying on those, that whatever supplies those were, goes down because they don't have enough of whatever. But I'll get all into that in the economic section, but that's just kind of what I'm talking about in terms of complexity. I don't just mean, like the modern definition of a complex system in a 4X game. That's a misnomer. It's a farce, even. A lot of modern 4X games are really dumbed down compared to, say, Masters of Orion, or even something like... well, I guess Stars was kind of also dumbed down a bit. I think Masters of Orion is probably the better example. Except it's going to be even crazier than that. So yeah, it's just going to be the tutorial is going to be insane. Although I may allow you to skip it if you want to. Although that would mean you'd be just going in there and probably getting killed within 5 minutes because you don't know what the hell's going on. But I may make it so you can skip the tutorial. Yeah, so you're given two directives when you essentially complete the training or decide to skip the training, and are given your ship and whatnot. And those two directives are to first and foremost take any action to aid the Earth Alliance in any capacity, be it territorial, in other words, protecting or taking territory, diplomatic, so dealing with situations like maybe transporting an ambassador or something to another, say, the Galactic Parliament, or to another race's homeworld or something. Economical, so again, helping out, rebuilding the economy of the Earth Alliance. Or defensive, which again goes back to territorial, but also in terms of if there's like a war or something, that you should do whatever you can to help. And then the second directive is to locate the home system of the Juice Lord and to retaliate in disproportionate response. So in other words, just to blow the hell out of it, really. So it's at this point in the game that you're given full control of your ship and what you can do. So at this point in the game, it's kind of like Skyrim, where you can follow Rayloff or whatever the Empire guy's name is, or you can just go wherever. So it's kind of like that at that point in Skyrim. The main missions are completely optional. You don't even have to. You could play the game all the way through and not... Well, I shouldn't say all the way through, but you can do everything there is to do in the game and not do the main missions, and you wouldn't be, wouldn't have any situation where you wouldn't be able to do something because of that. Now, that said, you will get special items and lots of resources and things as rewards for completing these missions, on top of the experience and the kills and whatnot, which I'll explain how that all fits into everything later on, but it's not required. So it's going to be both an open world game where you can just do whatever, a sandbox kind of thing, but also have story with it. So pretty much like any modern open world game these days. So yeah, it's going to be kind of like a mishmash in terms of gameplay styles, like Skyrim, the X series, and EVE Online, like a mixture of those, of the main gameplay styles and features and whatnot, in terms of the, how the game is played, kind of a mishmash of all those put together. Different camera views, different battle modes that you can engage in, whatever, all that stuff. And we'll talk more about that in the game mechanics section. So you talked about that. So I mentioned it before, I think, but you'll be able to do pretty much anything and everything in this game. If you want to be a miner, you can do that. If you want to set up a mining, corporation, hire NPCs to mine for you, mine asteroids for you, set up mining stations, you can do that. If you want to become like a trading mogul, you can do that. Create this, massive trading empire. If you just want to go out and, hunt pirates and be a bounty hunter, you could do that. If you want to start up your own empire, you could even do that. If you want to explore unknown space, you can do that. If you just want to fly around aimlessly, you can do that. If you want to become part of the galactic government, you can do that. You could become a parliamentary member, even work your way up to the magistrate. If you want to desert from the Earth Alliance and from galactic government and just kind of become like a freelancer or a mercenary working for money, you can do that. You can also go join other galactic empires, if you will. Like the Chosen, for example, you could go join them, but I wouldn't suggest it, because just, you never know what they'll do to you. Or you could even, go join one of the other races, become part of their military. Heck, you could even join the Sluikans and, provoke them into fighting the Earth Alliance and just wipe them out. And, you can pretty much, like I said, do anything and everything you could ever possibly want to. It's what my goal is for this game. That's part of the ambitiousness of it. So in terms of the universe, which we're going to explain now, universe, I mean, the story, the place game takes place in, the lore, just the whole thing. I'm hoping to craft something that is going to kind of rival in terms of scope and depth as Mass Effect's universe, in terms of how everything's kind of interconnected. What I mean by that is, like, if you look at the Mass Effect lore and the characters in the lore, the races, there's a very deep level connection between the lore and the races themselves. So for, like, example, it would have been easy for BioWare to say, okay, well, humans are going to be the main central race because the main character is going to be human, so let's give them some crazy powers. Instead, they didn't do that. They just made them regular humans with some genetic modifications and element 0 kind of stuff, tests to give them biotic powers. Whereas, like, the Asari, which was a race that evolved on Thessia, which is a planet that has the highest level concentrations of element 0 out of any of the planets in the known galaxy, they have very extreme biotic powers. Or you have the Krogan, which come from a world where they essentially, blasted to hell with nuclear weapons, and now they've kind of evolved over the time since then, and also previously, since it was a desert planet in the first place, to become really robust, and they have a very their physiology's tailored more towards survival. They have, like, multiple organs that are kind of like backups redundants. They are very hard to kill. They have really extreme regeneration abilities, although some of those might be biotics or some sort of medical technology, but still, like in the first game, some Krogans, when you killed them, they would, well, not when you killed them, when you got them down to a certain amount of health, they would activate a ability that they had, and their health would start regenerating like crazy. And that's what I'm talking about. So it's just like a lot of that kind of stuff. Really deep level reasons for why things are the way they are, and that's what I'm going to try and do with the lore and the universe for this game. That said, I do have quite a few races made so far, with some more planned. Currently, there are, I think, 11 or I think it's 11 races so far, and I'm planning to add more. Right now, all the races that I've created are races that exist within the game and the lore. There may be races that exist only in the lore, or ones that only exist in the game. So, if they only exist in the lore, that means that they went extinct or were killed off or whatever in a war or something. And if they're only in the game, that means they've just been recently discovered. Otherwise, they're, races that have been present and known for, and are still present for quite a while. So, also I want to mention that the information on the wiki and the website may not be, it may not be the same, because I'm in the process of going through and trying to. So I've made a lot of changes recently as far as timelines go, and some of the government agency names have been changed and whatnot. And not all the information I've changed. I haven't changed all the information yet on all the different places it's at. So there are places where it's going to conflict. So until I get the wiki updated, just consider the website to be the most up-to-date source if I mention it in these videos. If I don't mention the website and when I'm talking about something, then just consider the videos to be the most recent or most up-to-date source for that information. So let's talk about the races in the game. So there are currently 13 races. So we have the Terrans, which are us, the Sluikan, the Juicelorth, the Visar, the Adent, the Perkle, the Graz, the Telvari, the Dryson, the Yon, the Children of Atora, the Boshtets, and yes, I did literally lift that from Mass Effect, but it's just an awesome word, Boshtets. It's like frack, except a little more awesome. And the Atheliids. So we're going to go over some of the race descriptions now, and then into the race history for the for Terrans, Sluikan, and the Telvari. They're the ones that I have done so far. Oh, crap. So Terrans. Okay, so this is actually the. Let's see. This one is actually more like the lore version of the description for humans. So it's going to, like for example, the opening is Terrans hailed from a planet known as Earth, which we knew, but that's just more of a lore-y bit of information. All the lore that you're seeing that is going to be present on the website or in the game is actually part of the Galactic Government Archives. It's not part of the Terran Archives, because pretty much all the Terran Archives that were on Earth, Mars, and on one other planet, I have to figure out which one it is, were destroyed, so none of that information is around anymore. So all the information that you see is either part of the Galactic Government Archives or some other race's archives. So that's why this one sounds second person-ish. So Terrans hailed from a planet known as Earth for much of their existence until it was destroyed in 6204. Evolving from a terrestrial mammalian race known as apes, Terrans were the only species on their home planet to evolve to a sophisticated level, although there were many species that did have almost Terran-level intelligence. Their capacity for curiosity is matched only by their capacity for violence. The Terran history is an extremely bloody one, but most are. They also have an interesting capacity for growth as a species, and their ascension from a technologically inferior race of potentials to a spacefaring race happened extremely fast. Terrans are now an integral part of the Galactic Empire and play many key roles. Alright, next one are the Sluikans. The Sluikan are a snake-like reptilian race. They are very tall, imposing, and are very strong physically. Mentally, however, not so much. They are very short-tempered and will instigate fights just for being looked at in a way they find aggressive. While they are a member race of the Galactic Empire, they have been known to go to war with other members, most recently the Terrans. While small, there is a cabal within the Galactic Parliament that feels that if allowed to expand as a race, the Sluikan would become more docile. However, due to their methods of colonization, the Parliament has placed severe restrictions on expansion of their territory. So basically, when they go to colonize a new planet, they basically, if it's inhabited, they eradicate all the existing life off of it. That's part of a kind of a ceremony or sanctification of the planet, if you will. We'll go more into that a little bit later in the race history for the Sluikan, though. But basically, it's like a ceremony where they drain the blood from the corpses of whatever they find down there, if there is anything there, and they use it in various rites of passage and things like that to somehow sanctify themselves and the planet and make it worthy of being inhabited by them. They're very, they're almost kind of in mentality-wise like Klingons, just some sort of point of reference, but even more aggressive than Klingons, way more aggressive than Klingons, and way more brutal and sadistic as well. And then we come to the Juicelorth. The Juicelorth are pretty much an unknown, except that they are a race of reptids resembling a mix between a Terran alligator, salamander, and horny toad. So, more of your traditional, space-faring reptiles, as opposed to the more, stink-like ones like the Sluikan. So maybe, and something similar to maybe the Unas from SG-1 or something like that. That's what the Juicelorth would look like. They've only been seen once, and this description was based on that encounter. They go to great pains to keep themselves hidden and do all their communication through audio channels only. This has led many to believe that the Juicelorth are highly xenophobic and as well as extremely hostile to alien species. If their first action on the galactic scene is anything to go by. So, obviously, they destroyed destroyed Earth and Mars and basically almost wiped out the whole entirety of the Terran race, so that's pretty much self-evident. And so we come to the Adent. The Adent exist as non-corporeal beings, as beings of pure energy. While in this state, they communicate telepathically, but not in a way that corporeal beings can understand. They inhabit humanoid-like automatons that have software and hardware which were created by the Telvari, capable of turning their thoughts into language and allowing them to interact with us on a humanoid level, and they are also the last of the Troika, which I'll explain a little bit later on. There's currently no way to measure how intelligent they are as a species, as more than one being can comprise one Adent life form. In other words, one, automaton. So they're almost kind of like the Geth, except they aren't software. They were actually physical beings that evolved to a point to where they ascended into essentially a state of pure consciousness. It's kind of like the ancients from Stargate Atlantis, or rather from Stargate period, I guess. Something similar to that. But then they can re-inhabit these androids or robots or whatever you want to call them that the Telvari have made, and the software and the hardware within those allows them to interact and communicate. That's basically what all that meant. But there's one more sentence for that. And as such, the entity could have the intelligence and knowledge of several individuals. Talking about the, more than one life form to be in one Adent automaton. And that brings us to the Telvari. The Telvari are short alien-like creatures with large black almond-shaped eyes and gray skin with no body hairs. Basically, gray aliens, essentially. Or you can compare them to the Asgard if you want to. They're about half as tall as humans, and there's no differentiation between the sexes because they don't have genders, but instead reproduce by cloning. Which I think pretty much any highly super technologically advanced civilization would. At some point, evolution leads you to a dead end, and that's how it would happen. You lose the ability to reproduce. and so you'd have to go on to some other medium for doing that, such as cloning. They are incredibly smart, with an average human-based IQ rating of 850, and they're also a very, very ancient species, and are thought to have been the first species within our galaxy to attain space travel. This was an event that likely happened when Terrans were still living on caves on Earth. They're the second of the Troika. And then we have the Dryson. The Dryson are similar in size to Terran children, but share none of the other physical characteristics. They're also a very long-lived species and can live for many thousands of years. The Dryson favor diplomacy above all else, to the point of where they have no standing military, and defensively all they really have to defend their planet with is about 100 small frigates that aren't really that well armed either. The Dryson are the first of the Troika, which is a group of founding races that created the galactic government and provided much of the early infrastructure for the galactic capital. That's what the Dryson did. And Troika, I believe, in Mongolian means 3. I think it's Mongolian. I actually went to Google Translate and just typed in words I wanted to use and looked them up in other languages and used them in there just to kind of add a little more flair to it. Of course, I'm giving away an integral part of how I'm coming up with some of these names, but the hell with it. So yeah, the Dryson provided the... Actually, I'll talk about that later, won't I? Yeah, it's down here somewhere. So the Yawn. No, it's not Yawn as in A-W-N, Y-A-W-N, it's Y-A-H-N. The Yawn are a mysterious... The Yawn are a mysterious species. Yeah. Can't say that this late at night. It's only 10:30. While they are humanoid, they evolved directly from primates, and as such resemble gorillas. So that's kind of different from us. We didn't actually evolve directly from apes, we evolved from a common ancestor with apes, whereas the Yawn evolved directly from apes. From primates, I should say. So they more resemble a gorilla, kind of. Massive in size, they are extremely powerful physically and are covered in fur. And they also are extremely wise and patient. And while it's very hard to get a Yawn flustered, once you do, once they do get angry, they can become very violent because some of their more base instincts come out. Despite their size, they live an extremely long lifespan, or have an extremely long lifespan, and in fact they're actually one of the longest lived species of the known races in the galaxy, with an average lifespan of about 7,000 years. Normally how it works is the larger the physical build of the body, the shorter the lifespan is. But it seems to be the other way around with these guys. Probably in similar reason like with the Krogan or the Klingons. They have, maybe redundant organs, or genetics-wise, the organs are designed to operate the larger body structure. So that brings us to the Visar. While the Visar are humanoid in appearance, they're actually a species of insect which have evolved into sentient beings. They're the shortest lived of the known races, with an average lifespan of only 20 years. As such, they develop from pupae to full adulthood very quickly. They're very territorial and will attack anyone within their territory without their permission, even allies. They are, on average, a full foot taller than than Terrans, and have short tempers, but are not generally difficult to get along with. But if you make them mad, they're going to let you know about it, one way or another. And we come to the Graz. The Graz are a very strange species. In fact, they're actually more of an empire than a race of their own. It's actually a kind of an empire comprised up of multiple races, and it's only one of two multiple species races that are known within the known galaxy. with the other being the Hernandi. The Graz are comprised of 3 distinct races. 2 are mammalian humanoids, while the third is an aquatic species, not dissimilar to Earth's whales. How these disparate races came together is not really known, as the Graz keep their history secret. It is known, however, that there were once enemies in a very bitter war that nearly drove them all to extinction when one of the mammalian species caused the star in their home system to go supernova. As a last desperate move to try and survive. Each of the races is represented within the Galactic Parliament, except the Aquatics, as they've been come to be known as, who attend using remote communications devices. Because, like that thing in the beginning of the original Dune movie, it's kind of hard to get huge, giant, whale-sized creatures, into the Galactic Parliament somehow. The Procol are next. The Procol are an avian humanoid race with bodies covered in feathers instead of hair, but they are wingless. They don't have any wings. Much speculation on Earth was done when they learned of this race as to how the Procol evolved. The Procol are on average the same height as humans, but they're not quite as smart. Smart enough to advance sufficiently to space travel, yes, but the average intelligence is on the lower average spectrum of the races in the Galactic Empire. It's more kind of an instinctual intelligence, if you will, than actual knowledge intelligence. Though what they lack in this area, they make up for with ingenuity. The Procol were the first race to create vessels with cloaking technologies during their wars with the Visar. And like the Telvari, they have never known interspecies war, and their history is one of slow evolution over time. In fact, there's some evidence, although there's some evidence that exists that points to an outside influence that caused the Procol to evolve into humanoid beings with higher level intelligence, though these findings have never been fully corroborated or taken seriously. And there are also some discrepancies within their evolutionary tree that could be attributed to like a missing link, being like the Terran's own ancient ancestor. That could explain that. And that's all the races that are within the galactic government. Now we're on to the races that are part of the Chosen, which is a competing galactic organization. The first race within this call themselves the Children of Atora. They're a humanoid matriarchal race of mammalian origins that closely resemble Terrans in biology. They have no political hierarchy, instead favoring a theocratic structure. Slightly more stunted than Terrans in terms of build, they are the leaders of a competing organization to the Galactic Alliance called the Chosen, which is comprised of 3 races. They are a highly religious race, and over the centuries since they have attained space travel, they have launched holy wars against unbelievers within their area of the galaxy. Or their area of our galaxy, I should say. While they mostly remain contained within their sector, they have on occasion attacked members of the Galactic Alliance. The second race that forms the Chosen are the Bashtets. And this is going to sound like the Quarians, and that's because they are going to be modeled in terms of their lore history off the Quarians. It's just, you have to have some sort of nomadic race in these kinds of things. Although there's going to be a twist on it. Not an M. Night Shyamalan twist, but a twist nonetheless. Bashtets, and they follow a similar value set to the Children of Atora, but that was not always the case. A millennia ago, the Bashtets were a race of nomadic explorers that traveled the galaxy, peddling their creations. They were mechanical geniuses that could build a warp reactor out of a toaster given the right components. However, about 300 years ago, their convoy was attacked by the Koi, Children of Atora, for short. Koi is short for that. And they were forced to assimilate or be destroyed. Naturally, most fought back, but when they were overwhelmed by the technological superiority of the Children of Atora, those that were left submitted, and over time they've been radicalized and taught the religion of Atora. They are now a very dangerous race, responsible for hundreds of successful terrorist attacks on Galactic Alliance members, and any member of the Boschets brought into the Telerath brings in a fairly hefty reward. And that brings us to the final race of the Chosen, a mysterious race known as the Athiliads. The Athiliads are an insectoid race, similar in origins to the praying mantis of Earth, but again they're human-sized and sentient. They have a very complicated language with over 70 dialects. How they communicated with each other as a species before inclusion into the Chosen is not known, as their language is comprised of various clicking sounds produced by their mandible jawbones, with the loudness, speed, and length of the clicks forming the words. Not much is known about their origins nor their organizational structure, as no race has been allowed into their home system, even with those within the Chosen. The Athiliads have very powerful ships, but they're also extremely short-ranged, so they are rarely encountered within our area of the galaxy, although some incursions have occurred. And with that, we're going to move on to the race histories.